This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
This is why the Niconico Pride is such a firm favourite.
It's Kinky Tail.
He just looks ready for a fight. This is still her territory.
The Evoker boys are here to stay.
How insane was that?
Everybody, and welcome to the 13th episode of Safari Lives, our weekly highlights package from the week that was here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Western Kruger National Park and, of course, the Mara Triangle in the Masai Mara. My name is James Hendry, and I'm currently being blinded by the sun that is going down behind me. Senzo is on camera, and we'd love to hear from you during the course of the show using the hashtag SafariLive or the chat stream on YouTube. Over there, we have got some elephants. The elephants have got very little to do with the show that we have this afternoon, a show in which, around Djuma, the cats were running hither and yon.
While it's mainly been leopards again at Djuma this week, the Niconico Pride made a welcome return from the south. They spent a few days here, harassing buffalo and Tingana before heading north. Hosana continued to spend most of his time in the vicinity of our camp in the Djuma Pan, with brief hunting and thieving forays. Tandi and Tlalamba spent their week hunting, feeding and meeting with Tingana and Hosana. Most of this we've deduced from the tracks, but our deductions were proved correct by a Friday night meeting at the Djuma Pan. Meanwhile, the Duke, after a week of spending time very close to Galago Pan, has finally begun patrolling further to the south. Why? We're not sure.
So you can see it's been quite an interesting cat week. Not a lot of elephants on that map, but the cats have been moving around. There is an elephant who is sort of trying to eat from some fresh flush that has just come on the 2nd of spring. Yes, he's very upset, you can see. He didn't feature in the map, and so now he is offended. Deeply so. Once we have had a good look at these elephants, we will probably introduce you to a new character, a very diminutive character, and then we'll go on the search for Tandi and Palamba and see if we can't find the cat terminating at the end of the tracks that Herbert and Sydney were following, not Herbert and Sydney, Herbert and Tristan were following earlier today. Beautiful young elephant bull here in front of us. Isn't that nice? James, you said it's so nice to have Safari Lives back. I'm very pleased that you're enjoying Safari Lives. We quite enjoy it too. And that's because it really does give us a nice roundup, and it helps us to tell the story of our cats. It helps us to really, in detail, unpack the goings-on in their lives, and then also to discuss with you what you think's happening. Because, of course, nothing out here is definite. We don't know anything for dead certain about what's going on in the minds of our favourite cat characters. And so it's always great to debate with you as to what's happening. And yes, with you. This is a very touchy elephant, you can see. He now wants to know exactly what's happening with our cat characters, where they are, and why he has not been included. He's a tetchy young bull, probably aged around about, I'm going to say 14 years or so. Just when young men would start to get tetchy as well. Come on then, come and say hello. There you are. This is very special. Yes, Angela, it does amaze me too how they munch on dry old sticks, but you can see when they don't have to munch on dry old sticks, they won't. They will munch on grass and greenery. That's a reed of some description that he's found there. and he was eating on what looks like a splendid thorn, that bright green tree that's just flushed. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what it is. I think it's a splendid thorn. So a few of the trees have started to flush their fresh green. Now what he's doing here is pretending to eat. This is what's known as displacement behavior. So he doesn't really want us to think that he's paying too much attention to us, but at the same time he definitely is paying only attention to us. He's now pretending to eat stones and sniff little sticks and see what they're about, but actually he's much more interested in us. Let's see if he goes down here. Oh, this is fantastic, because it really is amazing how agile these elephants are. Now this is a tremendously steep bank that you as a human being would think twice about just trying to walk down. He's removing all of Rexon's anti-erosion control, which is not ideal. Rexon will have a word with him a little later. And the rest of the herd is just in this dry riverbed behind the dam wall, seeking some shade. There we have a grey tail swinging in the knobthorn thicket. Alrighty, we're going to go and find the diminutive characters I promised we'd try and introduce to you. In the meantime, let us go and cross to the great Sydney Mikosi and find out what his plans are for this, the 13th episode of Safari Lives.
A very, very good afternoon and welcome to the beginning of the afternoon safari. My name is Sydney and I am traveling with Dave and Toli. We are going to give you the best experience. Where I am this afternoon is where Thandi and Kalamba's tracks has been spotted earlier this morning, and now I can pick up some of the warning calls in the area. The chances of seeing Thandi and Kalamba, they are very high this afternoon. And for your questions and comments, you can follow us on Twitter, #SafariLive. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. I can hear some kind of the alarm calls coming from my left-hand side from this dry riverbed. I'm just going to go in there and try and see if there is something at the moment. So those cats must be definitely relaxed somewhere in this area. So now let's go to the Masai Mara. Jeremy is doing something. It's raining today in Mara. We are definitely looking for some rain in Africa.
Welcome to the Masai Mara for this afternoon Safari Lives. Guess what? We're in the middle of a torrential downpour. I have absolutely no idea where that came from. It is echoing so loudly off the roof. You may go ahead there, Archie, if you need to close up. There's water streaming in. I'm soaked from trying to get the covers down in time. What I thought was a drizzle has turned into, I'm hoping, a relatively transient downpour. And the reason that I'm hoping that it's a transient downpour is because at the moment we can't actually see anything. Because on this side of me, which is where the rain seems to be coming from at the moment, was Waffles. I have no idea if she's still there or not. She was there. She went down to fetch her cubs, and then the heavens opened and dumped their contents upon our heads. Can only hope that this is a temporary Masai Mara storm. Now, the reason that we're here at Waffles' den is twofold. One, we really want to see her babies, but two, more importantly, I have lost the communal den. And I cannot work out exactly what's going on. And so far, being at Waffles' den seems to be the place to be, and it's where the rest of the clan spend their days. Though it would be a stretch to compare Waffles to Goldilocks, her natal den site has become the regular hangout for members of the bear family. The unconcerned Waffles found a resting spot that was just right. Our little sloth bear, no longer comparable to a pocket rocket, enjoyed some loving attention from his older sister Teddy Bear, who seems to be showing all the signs of maternal yearnings. The oldest bear sister, Pola, enjoyed a good back scratch. unaware of impending tragedy. Secure in her dominance, Waffles did not let the ursine presence stop her from allowing us a brief view of one tatty-eared wafflet. And basically that's all we get of Waffles as cubs. There's just a few brief glimpses before they disappear underground. And that's why I was hoping it would be different this afternoon. Apparently, I was mistaken. It doesn't look like there is a single safe place to be, though. I mean, the sun is shining onto us from the west, but because it's now late in the afternoon, it's coming through and it's basically illuminating us without really helping because it is still pouring here. And at first I thought I'd just chosen the one bad place in the Mara to be, and I was sort of having a word with Waffles about her poor choice in Densite. The painful thing is while I've been with Waffles, I've just been thinking that this weather is perfect hyena hunting weather, and she's hungry, and so is the rest of the clan, which means there's a really good chance they're out there somewhere hunting. And the problem is that Waffles, she doesn't need to go with them hunting, she just needs to show up at the end of it and take what is her right as the queen of the North clan. I'm gonna go, I don't know, we can't move, we're stuck. We just have to sit here and hope that the weather blows over. She's on this side of me, and I really don't know if she's still here or not. So while I wring out my sleeves in consternation, let's go to James, who is at Voyatella Dam, hopefully in some better weather.
We're in much better weather. This is deeply irritating. We found this creature that we were hoping to show to you. You got him. You got him. Okay, Senzo spotted him. It did look like it's in there. I think that's it. You got it. Well spotted. That, everybody, is a baby lapwing. A tiny little baby lapwing, and it's a blacksmith lapwing. It is alive. We've just seen it move in there, and so that is our latest character, and we'll be watching its progress with great interest. Now what I'll do, Senzo, let me drive around the other side, maybe we'll get a better view of it. Just keep an eye, because if it moves it will almost certainly disappear. Okay, I'm watching it now. I'm watching. We'll get a view of it now. So it was born not long ago here, I think a few days ago actually. I've now lost it. Can you see it still, Sin? There. You got it.
I'm trying to see.
Okay, just zoom in and I'll guide you. Yeah, keep going there. Go right a bit. No, there. Straight in. Yeah, straight in there. Up a bit. A bit more. Now there. Focus. No. Hang on a sec. Yeah, no, it's there. Zoom straight in there. Middle of frame. To the right. To the right. There. That's it there. You got it. Right a bit. Now zoom. Punch zoom. Punch. Are you punched? You got it. Can you see it, Sinzel? We can see it, Sinzel. You can't. It's middle of the frame. Well done.
It's in the middle of the frame.
It's in the middle. It's middle of the frame. There is a little thing.
Oh, I can see it.
You got him now.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh, shit. It's camouflage.
It's beautifully camouflaged, isn't it? You can hear its parents going tick 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 ting 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 ting. Yes, Catherine, those are the parents making it the noise. We're not going to hang around here for too long, but we are, over the course of the next few weeks, going to follow the progress of this delightful little lapwing chick. Isn't that sweet? Out of the nest almost immediately on birth, and one of the few kinds of birds that are born precocial. In other words, able to run straight away. unlike sort of the naked example of, say, a hornbill or a lilac-breasted roller. Very nice. Right, I think we're going to go and have a look now at some action associated with the great Hosanna. I forget exactly which piece of action this is. Kirsten, would you mind reminding me? My brain is too small. Ah, yes. It is the great thieving by father of son.
Much as we like to consider our royal leopards to be born of noble attitudes, it is clear that not one of them is above theft. In the animal kingdom, we so often say, size really is the only thing that matters. This time, father stole from son. Fat and full as he was, Tingana wasn't about to allow Hosanna any opportunity to feed. The little chief did his best to look nonchalant as he approached the table, but Dad was having none of it. As the Duke took the rotting Nyala once more, Hosanna was forced to retreat and, a few days later, did some pilfering of his own.
So you can see there is, well, one hesitates to say this, but not a lot of honour amongst the leopards when it comes to each other. And you will see later on that it is not only Tingana that lacks a certain honour when it comes to his, shall we say, visiting dinner rites. None of them are particularly appreciative of the efforts the others make in order to kill. So that's the story. Let's have one last look at this chap, and then we'll press on. I do think it's quite interesting, however, that over the last little while, both, or all four, Thandi, Tlalamba, Hosanna and Tingana have been around the same area. And I think it's quite fascinating that Tingana is not marking further to the south. And there is another male down there, down sort of operating on Little Gari, which is the reserve to the south of us, and possibly even onto Chitwa. And I think that other male is probably preventing Tingana from going down there and perhaps trying to mate with Guchava, who is almost certainly in heat at the moment. So we'll discuss that a little bit later, but it is quite interesting to see the dukedom. Well, I mean, it's bigger than it's been for months, certainly, since the arrival of Hukumuri, but I'm not sure how much south he's going at the moment. He's certainly pressured from the north. I think he's probably going to start expanding further west again, because Hukumuri seems to have absconded almost exclusively to the western half of Arathusa and onto Elephant Plains. So that's quite interesting, and it'll be very fascinating to see what happens in the near future. Good. Okay, let's leave this little lapwing, poor little thing, and then press on and see if we can find another cat for us. Kim, yes, it does make me nervous. I was worried about driving over one of them, but I knew that if we got close, the parents would start to make a huge noise. They've definitely only got one chick here. And I was pretty sure, Kim, apparently, oh dear, apparently they used to have 3. And now they've only got 1 left. But yes, Kim, I'm being very careful about where I drive. Apparently the baboons ate one of them, nasty baboons. They do that frequently. In fact, I would suspect that one of the major predators of young nestlings like that, when they are so small and vulnerable, one of the major predators would be baboons. Baboons. We shall leave these impala, press on and see if we can't give Aubrey a hand finding Thandi and Tlalamba. Now Jamie, of course, is sitting in the rain, the pelting rain, which I suppose is probably apropos of the general mood from the North Clan this week.
We are indeed sitting in the rain. It is absolutely pouring. At least it's managed to change directions for a second, so we've managed to move around just a little bit in the vain hope, and I really do feel that it is a vain hope, that Waffles might emerge. I don't think she has any such intentions though, because it is quite frankly, a thoroughly unpleasant day, and I wish that I could send some of this rain across to Djuma, because I'm sure that they need it more than I do. Now, the price that North Clan pays for the territory that they have, and they really do have prime territory. Oh, I think it's lightning that way. I think we might be okay. The price that they pay for the prime territory along the river crossings is everything that comes along with the river. They're between the escarpment and the river, and they get this massive drainage of water along in this direction. What that means is they live in a swamp. We have no idea exactly what events befell North Clan and one particular cub in particular. However, we do suspect that this weather might actually have had something to do with it. Now, what we're about to show you is not for sensitive viewers, because it has been an extraordinarily sad week for the hyenas of North Clan. The Mara weather has an uncanny leaning towards pathetic fallacy, and a gloomy and damp afternoon heralded tragedy at the North Clan den. Polar Bear's cub was dead. Over and again, Polar Bear tried to call her lifeless cub out into the open, under the watchful eye of her queen. The normally stoic Waffles seemed at a loss, gently picking up the carcass and placing it back in the den repeatedly, with all of the care that a mother might show a living cub. Waffles and Polar Bear's mother Sour formed a protective wall against Polar's grief. Eventually, Waffles seemed to realize that the carcass had no place in the den and moved it away, before bounding back to bodily block Polar from her own living cubs, driving home the message that there was nothing for her to search for, no cub that would respond to her call. It struck me in that moment that no other hyena was allowed near the carcass apart from the mourning mother. There is no room for sentimentality in nature, and it was Polar Bear's right to recover what little resource she could. Nature's bitter and cruel consolation prize. Polar Bear wandered off, alone in her heartache, as the queen stood protectively over her own 2 cubs. I guess it seems somewhat appropriate that we have this weather today. I mentioned it to the researchers and they said it was because the Mara was crying, which I think was dramatic. Even for me, I think that was a little bit too dramatic. So a very sad week for North Clan. A relief in a way that Waffles' cubs are both alive, and I'll explain why. Firstly, because she's old. She's over 12 years old. Stop spraying me. She's splashing off the window. She's over 12 years old, and Waffles has had a tendency to have boys, which means that there's been no one to pass the leadership on to except for her daughter, who died under mysterious circumstances years ago. So there really is entire hope for the leadership of North Clan resting on 2 little cubs' shoulders. It's the unfortunate thing that we want to, as humans, look for a reason, we want to look for an answer, we want to know what happened. I don't think Waffles killed that cub. Even though she is a high-ranking female, she has a reputation as being very benign. I've never seen her overly aggressive, and I don't think she had a reason to. Doesn't mean she didn't, but that's just my personal opinion. I think perhaps the combination of the weather and the fact that Polar Bear didn't move her cub away from Waffles, so she was restricted to access whenever Waffles wasn't here, which might not have been good timing for that cub. Ooh, it's getting lighter. I think that might have been the reason, but the truth is, we'll never know. Unfortunately, poor Polar Bear hasn't come back ever since. We saw her the next day, briefly, and she's moved off, and chances are that we won't actually see her again for an extended period of time. Poor thing. Her daughter's been around. Deja Vu's been around. And I'm sorry that we have to show you all aspects of their lives, not just the happy moments. And that was a very tragic moment indeed. Waffles, usually with her good sense of timing, would pop her head up round about now, as she feels the rain lessening. Constance King, I don't think the dens get too flooded. No, actually, that's not true. I think the den does get flooded, and I think they would be much better off if they moved just a little bit further that way to their old den. The cubs are usually, I mean, these hyenas raise cubs under these conditions all the time. This year is not much worse, at least this time of year. It's not much worse than it was last year. I think the cubs are able to move away from it. But what I think really happened is where this den is, with this soil type, I think the mud was constantly wet and sticky. And you saw how Waffles' cubs have been coming out of the den. They're coated in this stuff. And these tiny little creatures need constant milk and attention from mum because they're so small and their metabolism's working really quickly to try and keep them warm. I'm guessing. We honestly don't know and we'll never know. But it does get very muddy, and I am hoping. I mean, if you look at the entrance, I don't know actually if Archie can see one of the entrances there. No, he can't. I'm too far forward. But if you were to see the entrance, and I'll show you once this rain abates, which it seems to be doing, you would see just how mud-slicked it has become already, just from this rain. And the road that I drove on, which was dry, on my way in, is now underwater. I don't know if this was their best choice, but I guess, as I said, they've been doing this for a long, long time. Ah, thunder. P-Heart, if the cub was bitten by a snake, which is a possibility, you want to know if that could poison the mother. No. It's the interesting thing about venom and poison and the difference between them. You could, most likely, I wouldn't advise it, please don't do this, but you could actually ingest an amount of venom. If you didn't have any cuts or injuries in your mouth or open gaps, your stomach acid would actually dissolve it. So if it had been bitten by a snake and if there was venom still in its body, the mother's eating it, she'd still be okay, most likely. Snake is not a bad suggestion. It is possible, particularly if it was seeking shelter from this horrendous weather. It just seems uncannily bad luck that it should have been Polar's cub, but then you never know. Waffles? It stopped raining now, almost. Just like that. It's over and done. Hopefully she'll come out once it passes properly. So, on a somewhat sad note from the Masai Mara and North Clan, let us go cheer ourselves up with Sydney and some lions.
I am very lucky. I just managed to get hold of one of the beautiful young male lions. I can see there all by himself, not too sure which coalition is he belonging to. He's enjoying some sleep, but looking at the bellies, to me it seems like there's nothing in their bellies, unless maybe it's the positioning of sleeping. I haven't seen the male lions for quite a long time here in Djuma Game Reserve, the Avoca Coalition. The last time I saw them, it was by the first week of my employment, which was early July. That has been long, long time ago. I had a great sighting of the Nkuhuma lions this week, and these Nkuhuma lions, they did something very much interesting as they were trying to corner one of the oldest leopard in the property, Tingana. If it was not because of the big jackalberry tree, Tingana would have been caught by the Nkuhuma pride. The 11 members of the famous Nkuhuma pride were trying their luck with an attempt to catch the oldest dominant male leopard at Djuma, Tingana. Tingana was very lucky because leopards are more agile climbers than lions. That look from one of the lioness shows that if it had not been for the big jackalberry tree, Tingana would have been caught a few days ago. It was too much effort for the lions to climb after the leopard. But they would probably have killed Tingana for competition rather than actually eating him. That was tremendous. Those pride have proven to us that the lions, indeed, they are the king of the jungle. You have seen Tingana up by the tree trying to avoid them by all means. So if it was not of that tree, I can promise you something would have happened that day there on Tingana. So I hope this male lion is going to wake up here so that we can see him nicely. So by looking at the bones at the back, you can see that he's not that looking very, very full. You can see he's very hungry, maybe, this lion today. Difficult to tell his condition when he's lying down like that. So these lions can be able to sleep for 18 hours. Rosalind, the lions are part of those animals which are not feeding every day. But some of the males who got kicked off from the prides, who are not even part of the coalition, walking by themselves, they do target small animals. And if, for instance, this kind of a big lion catch something like a scrub hare, it's obviously not going to last in the body. It will be digested very quickly. Lions, normally they eat after every 5 to 6 days. And that is determined by hunting activities. It's not like they are going to be successful on day 6. Sometimes it can be difficult. So now let's see. James has got some zebras. Zebras are also part of the animals targeted by these kind of big predators.
Yes, indeed they are, and especially at this time of the year, because there are no buffalo around at the moment. It's not necessarily this time of year, but at this time, because there are no buffalo around, if you know what I mean. Subtle difference there. So those are some zebras, and we also have some wildebeest with them. There they are. Now, I say the word wildebeest, hoping that Tristan is watching. It gets up his nose terribly when we say wildebeest, because of course it's a wildebeest, because it's a Dutch word or Afrikaans word, and we should say it as such. And I said to him, but you know, some people just don't pronounce it like that. And he said, well, he gave me a really good example of why it should be pronounced like that. I think it was something like, you don't pronounce impala impala, do you? No, you don't. You say impala, because that's how the word was said originally. And so I'm going to just say wildebeest, although I love to say wildebeest. There's something about it that I really enjoy. There is a lovely mixed herd of grazers here. Now, I think they are probably hanging around with each other, not so much because they're eating different parts of the grass plants, but because they are looking out for predators. I think that's what's happening now. They are nowhere near the sleeping Avoca male lion. They could, however, be very near Tandi and Tlalamba. Pierre, you say you love the stripes. Yes, well, the stripes are really what makes zebras zebras. Otherwise, I guess they'd be horses. They are very appealing. Their existence is still something of a mystery, and you can read books with ridiculous theories on why they should exist out here, including theories on the stripes perhaps having some kind of repelling or repulsive effect on the flies, perhaps helping to regulate body temperature. I think the only one that holds any water whatsoever is the theory that they are there simply to break the outline of the animal, especially in terrain like this, and especially at twilight and just after twilight, when lions, their main predators, are on the hunt. You must remember that a lion's eye does not see in the same detail that ours can, but it does see very good contrast. No, Charles, we don't get black wildebeest at Djuma. You don't get black wildebeest in any of the 3.5 million hectares making up the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park, of which we are a very small pimple on the far western edge. You get black wildebeest in slightly drier areas and normally up on the high veld, pretty much in similar areas to those that you might find our only southern African gazelle, and that is the springbok. So there are no black wildebeest here at all, although these ones do look blackish. They are the same colour as black wildebeest. Alrighty, while those zebras look towards where we are going to try and find Thandi and Tlamba, let's go back up to the Marcy Mara, where Jamie Patterson doesn't have just 2 or 3 scraggly wildebeest, she has hundreds of thousands.
Back to talking about wildebeest and zebra in the Masai Mara. The rain, well, slightly inconvenient for us, is a truly good thing over this part of the triangle, because what that means is that it's going to keep the migration here for longer. Now North Clan, and I'm leaving Waffles for now, we'll come back a little bit later, North Clan hasn't really had their share of the migration this year. Sure, they've had some of the river crossings, but ultimately last year the wildebeest were all through this area. Whoa. This could go very badly. Up. There we go. Driving through a river. Last year this whole place was full of wildebeest. This year they have stayed a little bit further to the south, and for very good reason. However, we've been spending time with them, and we'd love to tell you about their movements and one zebra that stood out from the crowd.
A massive portion of the migration remain in the south of the Mara Triangle, on the fresh green flush of the burnt areas, as well as the lush grazing of the salt lick. The sounds that surround the massive herds are always something special, that you never quite get used to. That, coupled with the sheer numbers, is always spectacular. We were extremely lucky to find a rare leucistic zebra amongst the herds. It is always special to see something out of the ordinary, and this golden zebra was a real treat. To the north, a few scattered herds of zebra and wildebeest were around the main crossing points. A small herd of 15 individuals decided to brave the Mara River. The crocodiles have had a tough time this year, with very few large crossings in their haunts. They wasted no time heading for the small group of zebra. Their eagerness showing with a few failed attempts, but the need to cross amongst the zebra was too great. And as Saurian reinforcements arrived, the fate of one brave zebra was sealed. A battle for the zebra continued as the behemoths drifted downstream.
Just to clarify, because I realise in hindsight that might have sounded quite awful, when I said the zebra that stood out from the crowd, I meant the leucistic one, not the one that stood out for the from the crowd for the crocodiles. That would have been very horrible to say. Oh, there's the migration. We think of it as these terribly tragic crossings, and yes, it is phenomenally sad to witness a zebra like that being caught by a crocodile through no fault of its own. It was just the wrong zebra in the wrong place in the queue coming through the river. But actually what we should celebrate as well is the sheer numbers of animals that make this journey safely each and every year. It is a really small minority that do not make it through the Mara River. The topies are included in the migration as well, that antelope in front of the zebra, and a lot of them are heavily pregnant. Bob, funny you should ask that, because we've got we have some tales of some cantankerous herbivores to tell you a little bit later in the afternoon. But yes, sometimes herbivores do fight with other herbivores. Aha! That's what I was looking for. Those topi are looking at it too. There's a hyena of North Clan stalking through the muddy area, waiting for the opportunity to hunt. We'll go that way in a bit, but first I must answer Bob's question. Rhino, buffalo, elephant are usually the ones that chase other herbivores around. They, for some reason, don't like to share their personal space, and they often do. Particularly buffalo bulls, but all of the larger herbivores, and hippo. Hippo will actually do it, and in fact, sometimes during the migration, a hippopotamus will actually step in and kill a poor unsuspecting zebra or wildebeest simply because it has come too close to them in their water. Usually that happens when there's not much space, when there's lots of competition in the water, and the hippos are stressed and their tempers pushed to breaking point. But yes, herbivores can be aggressive towards other herbivores. You get random instances where something like a topi will chase a Thompson's gazelle for no apparent reason. Okay, I'm going to go catch up with this hyena that's up ahead, because I want to see what they get up to. We know they like this weather, but also because I still haven't found the communal den. Angela, it's an interesting thing with the migration. Obviously it varies from year to year. You're looking at around about a duration of 4 months, but it can be longer, it can be shorter. So sometimes it's 5 months in really good conditions. And it really is entirely dependent upon the rain. There we go, that's exactly what I was expecting. I can't turn around, I'm stuck, I can't turn around. Okay, I'll get us to the hyena and then I'll turn around. So this year is expected to be short because there was so much rain earlier on in the year. Whereas the year before was a much longer year. For predators in certain places, wet conditions like this, hello you, looks like Waffles' son Ferg, predators like this, conditions like this are wonderful. But for the predators of South Africa, usually the dry season is their time of plenty.
Look at that. This lion is still very much relaxed, not showing any other activities. And you can see the mane is starting to grow, is getting very big. This kind of mane, when it's too hot during the hot weathers like this, they do give them a problem when it comes to the weather. So they get very hot inside there. You can see it's like a very big blanket. So this mane helps them in order to impress the females from the prize. And also during the territorial challenges, fighting, they help to protect the neck. It's good that the lions, the gap between the head and the body is too small. They don't have a long neck, which helps them. Because imagine these animals, they fight too much, and if they were having something like a long neck, it was going to be a challenge all the time. You can see that the ear is very hairy. Sky, I am not too sure. That is something I am asking myself, because when I'm looking at this ischium, the bones at the back, the hip bones, I can see that he is not looking very healthy. Look at that. So I think this is it's not a poor condition, but it's a fair condition. So when considering the method called the bone marrow index, the method used in order to determine the health status of an animal, I can say this one is on a fair condition. So maybe he's going to wake up while I'm here, and then I will be able to see what is it giving him a problem. But when I got here, he was not sleeping. He was just very relaxed. The head was up. So I couldn't even notice that he's having some challenges. Look at that. These kind of animals, they've got to yawn a lot, because yawning helps them to cool the brain temperature. You can see now it's up. There you see. Maybe he heard me. He heard that I was very worried that we want to see him with the head up. Maybe he picked up something. You know, these animals can be very much inquisitive, and their irritability works nicely also when they're sleeping. So now, let's go to Jamie, who's got the hyenas hunting. Look, now is moving.
I was right. This is the weather for hunting hyenas, and Ferguson Farms, son of the matriarch, is at it. Now, this is basically how hyenas hunt in this weather. He's going to run backwards and forwards, and he might lose interest or he might not. But essentially what he's hoping is that one of the antelope or the zebra is going to panic, slip and fall. He's looking around because some backup would be very useful in this whole process. Now he's dashing off that way. He's taking us into essentially a swamp, so I don't know how far we can follow him. But I've been dying to show you the hunting technique live, because chances are he's not going to be successful, but you just never know. And neither does he. And already he's causing panic. He's getting zebra to run away from him. We are so going to get stuck. But not today. Not today. Oh, that was a mistake. Already he's outpaced me, so you can understand what it's like trying to follow a hyena when it's hunting. I don't want to look at the water under my wheels. I'm not looking. Where's he gone? I've lost him. Straight ahead, dead ahead. There he is, got him. Well done, thank you. Onto the road. This way. Around the very large hole that would take us swimming, which is not something we want to do. Fergus, where have you gone? Oh, we're going this way, and we are off running once again. Now imagine trying to do this at night, in the dark, obviously, because it's night, and you get an idea of what we've been up to for the last 4 months. He is outpacing me. I'm going at 30 kilometers an hour because it's wet. He is way ahead of me. And he's stopping to look every now and again. There we go. Here he is. I'll stop for you in a second. I'm sorry, zebra. If you're not careful, I'm going to spray you. I'm going to give you a shower. Malika, if you were to take me at my word from the final episode of The Gauntlet, I would have told you that a hyena's top speed is around about 50 miles an hour. Now, that was because I got my kilometers and my miles mixed up. No, that is not true. They cannot run. Oh, look what you found yourself. A victim of the migration. Probably an old hyena meal, actually, with where it is. The actual top speed of a hyena is around about 60 kilometers an hour, possibly 70 if they're really gunning it. So they don't rely on speed in the same way a cheetah might do, or even a lion. But essentially they just rely on an animal making a mistake. And life is tough for all creatures out here. Apparently, Sydney's lion is not looking in the best of conditions.
Look at that. Now that lion is showing some activities. Now we can see that he is heading towards the northern side. Not too sure if maybe others are in front, or he has been left here a couple of hours, or they have splitted a few days ago. So I'm just gonna now again carry on forward and see if we can have a better sighting. Maybe he's gonna lead us to something. So I have noticed that he is limping I'm not too sure if he's limping from the fight or he's limping because he has been sleeping there from one side all day long. Yeah, now he's walking much better. Polecat mama, the lions can travel very long distances, especially the territorial males. The males, they walk much more long distances than the females because they've got a responsibility of patrolling their territories. So I'm not too sure in terms of the kilometers, but lions, they are active a lot for about 2 to 4 hours at night. They spend much of their time sleeping. Look at that. Now we've got a good sighting here from where I am. You can see that he picked up some noise. There was a daycare. I just saw a daycare from this drainage line going up. Maybe that is what he picked up now. So I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep following until I see his intentions. It's very rare for the lions to wake up by this time of the day and start showing some activities. Mostly the lions, they sleep and wake up just by the sunset. So now let's go back to James, who is driving, and hear his plans.
Well, my plan is to first of all show you that impala over there. There's an impala just over there, a male impala, and the poor fellow unfortunately lost a cousin, possibly an aunt, maybe even a sister earlier this week to wild dogs. The wild dogs then had their kill stolen by none other than the pilfering royals.
After following up on sounds of elephants vocalizing in the bush, we accidentally stumbled upon Tandi. She had managed to chase the wild dogs off their meal before she called Kalamba onto the scene. Kalamba quickly arrived and began to feed with relish. However, her instinct soon took hold as she tried with all her might to drag the enormous carcass through the thickets. She struggled and tugged, using every ounce of her power as the awkward meal caught on every branch. Tired and satisfied, she sought approval from her mom with a head rub. Unfortunately for all Kalamba's efforts, Mom was still unsatisfied with where the carcass lay. And without hesitation, with relative ease, Tandi picked up the kill and dragged it to the safety of a thicket at the base of a tree.
So a bit grim there. I mean, we've showed you a few grim things today so far, and I'm afraid there are a couple of grim things further to come. But very interesting nonetheless, and I think that that was probably killed by one wild dog. I don't believe that Tandi would have taken on more than that, especially as it was too heavy for her to grab and quickly take up a tree. So I think you'll probably find that maybe one wild dog killed it, had a little bit to eat, and then either left it or she leapt in and chased it off. So fascinating there, and you can see that, well, the young Kalamba learning her mother's pilfering ways. All is at peace now amongst the impala males. You can see that they are not shouting at each other. They're not going, "Haw, haw, haw, haw," which is what they do, of course, in May, and that is because the rut is over. But what is very interesting as we go into spring is that this very little known secondary mating season is about to happen. And it is the only time that I have ever seen impala actually mating. And normally during the main May mating it happens at night. This will sometimes happen during the day. And so over the course of the next month, make sure to make a stop at every impala herd and see if there isn't any impala mating going on. It's very interesting. And remember, these babies will be born in February. Just a very small cohort. Fascinating stuff as we go into the spring. Ooh, the stick tried to attack us. Let me run it down. That is what it deserves. I'm being facetious, everybody. I don't really believe the stick deserved that. It's just what happened. Right, here's the main body of the herd, which is very nice. We're still trying to find some tracks of Thandi and Tlalamba. We haven't managed to have any luck. We will continue to search. In the meantime, back to the hyenas of the Masai Mara with Jamie. And quite astonishingly, they haven't had enough to eat yet.
We are still with our hyena, who is finishing off an unfortunate member of the migration. I think it looks like a wildebeest, but I honestly am not 100% certain. I also said it was Ferg with great confidence. Listen. It's a lion roaring. Off in the distance. Unfortunately, we're about to get hit by the second wave of the storm on its way towards us. I know where that lion is. I'll try and see if I can get there, although I don't think we will. What have you got? I said it was Ferg, but he's also soaking wet and fluffed up, so I'm not 100% sure. Of course, this is where hyenas come in extraordinarily useful in an ecosystem such as this, particularly during the migration. Lions have a tendency to kill and leave, especially when they are full. They'll often go on something like a killing spree or something akin to a killing spree at night and then abandon the carcasses. And the hyenas are usually the cleanup crew. They'll come through, along with the vultures, of course, and they will finish off what they can. They're still hunting during the migration, but you'll probably find that they are hunting less than they might otherwise. In this particular time of year, they can let the lions do the hard work for them. Speaking of lions, let's go across to Sydney before his lion vanishes across a boundary.
So the lion is slowly now approaching me just from the very big house of the small insects, the termite mound. He is slowly approaching. I saw that he's coming. There you see. Look at that. This is beautiful. You can see now he's not limping anymore. Maybe that was just because of the long sleep. Look at that. This is very beautiful with the reflection of the light. Some just child of Invos. The avokas has been roaring. Last week I have heard them. I suspected that is them while I was watching the unkuhumas at night. Look at that. So I'm just going to try and reverse so that we can keep following these big male lion. You can see that he's now heading towards the boundary. Look at that. So this is beautiful. You can see the tip of the tail is nice, bushy and black. He's just about to cross now. There's some other stations, vehicles coming to join me. Rowan, this lion is still part of the Avoca coalition, not part of the pride. Males, big males, they start and young males to form their own group called a coalition. So they are not every time with the prides. They only engage with the females during the ostrus of the females. So now that lion is disappearing towards the private property. It's marking, not too sure if this is his territory or this territory belongs to someone, him trying to claim the territory. So now let's go to the Masai Mara. Let's go to Jamie, who's called the lovely hyena. Interesting hyenas of the Mara.
Guess who showed up to the party? We not actually, despite the speed at which we drove, that far away from Waffles' natal den. She's come to investigate what her son is up to, and I'm pretty certain it's her son, just watching the way that they've been interacting around this pile of old bones. Waffles is hungry. She's been at the den. She really has been a phenomenally dedicated mother. She must spend 20-odd hours, possibly even more, with those tiny cubs, or at least in close proximity to them, keeping them safe, protecting them from harm in as much as she can. But even she, as a fantastic mother, has to leave the den at some point because she's got to eat and she's got to keep herself nourished. She's lucky, though, in that as the highest ranked member of North Clan, she can pretty much shoulder charge her way into every meal and get the best of it, even if she didn't participate in the whole process of catching it. So while Waffles may be able to push around members of her own clan, there are some animals out there that not even Waffles is able to dominate.
The hyena of North Clan were nervous on the first day of spring, and for good reason. Faced with the approach of the largest land mammal in the world, most scattered, but Waffles made the conscious decision to stay with her cubs. It was clear from the outset that the bull did not take kindly to her presence, and there was little she could do except hide in the entrance to the den and keep as quiet as possible. It seems odd to think of an elephant as a threat to a hyena, but they do not appreciate the presence of smelly carnivores, and Waffles was trapped in her hole as the massive mammals moved over the den, content to feed while risking the structural integrity of the cub's home below the surface. We held our breath as the elephant came within a foot of turning Waffles into a pancake. The departure of the elephants did not mean respite for Waffles, as next to pass by was a herd of male buffalo. Buffalo are known to be almost irrationally cantankerous, and once again, the dignified queen was forced to hide in a somewhat undignified manner. Perhaps it was my imagination, but when Waffles finally emerged and the threat had passed, she looked decidedly disgruntled with life, before, quite literally, going to ground for the rest of the day.
Well, just personally, I happen to find Waffles quite expressive as hyenas go, but that might, of course, entirely be a product of my anthropomorphizing her and the rest of her clan. They are going to hunt. They are wandering off in the direction of the zebra. She's just called, while we were showing you the encounter with the elephants and the buffalo, calling the rest of her clan to her side, and they have no choice but to answer her call. It is built into their instinct, so they're going to be coming. Unfortunately, although the rest of the clan is arriving, so is the storm off to the west of us. No, that's the east. Off to the east of us. And I need to go. I can't stay with her because the road is already a river. Once the second lot hits, I'm going to have to run. Say my name, boy. Interesting. Say my name, boy. Would like to know who the females such as Waffles mate with. They will mate with the immigrant males, males that have dispersed and moved in from another clan, which is what most hyenas, especially in this area, will do at around about 3 or so years old once they reach sexual maturity, and what Waffles' son Fergus will be doing very soon. When a male does that, he falls to the bottom of the clan hierarchy. However, some males don't migrate, or immigrate. Not migrate, that's the wrong word. Sorry, I've got migration on the brain. They don't immigrate. They move on to different clans. I mean, they stay in the same clan, and they will not really be allowed to mate with their mothers or sisters, but they will mate with other females that are unrelated. Waffles is vanishing off and disappearing. We have to run from the rain, we really do. So while we do that, go and entertain yourself with a very brightly coloured bird.
Here's a very bright bird that I haven't put on camera for a very long time. I'm not sure why, other than to say I've done it so many times before. But as we go into the summer months, of course, we are going to be concentrating a lot on birds. This is not a migratory bird, of course. It is a residential bird. And it is, of course, the lilac-breasted roller. We did find tracks of Tundi. They were the same tracks, I think, that they found earlier today. And so the mystery as to where she is right now continues to, well, confound us, frankly. We'll keep on trying as we look at this gorgeous bird, see if there aren't perhaps some alarm calls somewhere along the way. See, this bird is scandalized by something. Perhaps it will see Tundi coming out of the drainage line in front of us. The last tracks went into that dry riverbed to the side there. We're just going to ease down here onto a game path and see what we can see. And everybody's just saying it's a beautiful bird. It is a beautiful bird. Let's just have a quick look up in that tree there, Senzo, if you don't mind. Do you see the big tree there? It's the big one. That's it. It's called a large fruited false thorn. It's called large fruited because it has, everyone together, large fruit. Well done. And it's called a false thorn because it looks like it might have thorns. That's well done. And you will find that it doesn't, in fact, have thorns. It is an albizia tree. I think some of the most beautiful trees we have here are albizzias. They take on the wonderful shape of the acacias without having the nastiness of their thorns. So that is Albizia forbesii, the large fruited false thorn. Is it not a magical tree? It is not a character in SafariLives. I suppose it could be a character or part of a character story if there was a leopard lying in its boughs. But in the absence of an actual character to show you, I am showing you Albizia forbesii, where perhaps Tundi might like to stash a kill. I'm sure you're all thoroughly and utterly astounded by what I've just told you. Now, just to the east of where I now sit lies a riverbed, the riverbed of the Great Mruamati, in which there are many tambuti groves, the perfect conditions for afternoon hunting.
The hot afternoon was punctuated by the alarm calls of startled birds as Hosana hunted in the dappled light of a tambuti grove. What could he have spotted? His attention was completely focused as he walked footprint in footprint towards the quarry that would be his team. Ultimate patience, silent, slow, still. And then a final charge that would net him. What is it? What could it be? A squirrel. Ah well, food is food, and young male leopards have a hugely wide-ranging taste in food. I suspect Hosana kills a lot of prey this size. It would explain why his belly is normally full, even though we don't always see him with large kills.
So that was quite an amusing thing, and what we didn't show you there, because obviously there's been quite a lot of gore already and there still is more to come, is that Hosana was astonishingly skillful at dissecting that squirrel. So basically what he did was he used his incisors to open up the front of the squirrel and take out the guts. He didn't use his paws at all, he just managed to use gravity and his sharp teeth. Let's just peer down into the riverbed there. That's where the tracks have gone. And he managed to extract the alimentary canal, drop it on the floor, and then that was it. Now, apparently, we're not going to talk about viscera any further. We are going to go across to some cute baby elephants.
I'm very lucky with the elephants, a very small head with the little ones. These little ones we're playing here now, they are quiet. So play is part of the ways animals learn some of the adaptive behaviors. All day long, elephants, they feed. So I'm not very far away from the Buffalo's Hook Dam. I'm sure maybe they are from there now. You can see they are avoiding the sun, as I indicated this morning, that now when the sun is on the western side, during the sunset, they must look east. During the sunrise, they must look west. So these animals, they help the vegetation a lot, because when the elephants are defecating every time is when they're creating the manure for the vegetation to grow. Rosalind, the elephant skin is very much thick. Not too sure in terms of the centimeters, but this is very thick. I don't think the mosquito can even manage to bite the elephants. They might not feel anything. And it does have quite a lot of hairs. You can't see these hairs, but when you're very nice and close, you can see that this body does have a little bit of hairs. Can see they're all looking very dirty, which is normal. Elephants, they dirtify themselves, and they also go for swimming. They like to play in water, especially during the dry season when it's too hot, or during summer season. Even during lightning, elephants, you'll see them playing in water when it's raining. They get very excited with the rain. So the elephants can live 65 years, and what caused them to die mostly is as soon as they start losing the teeth is when it's going to be very difficult for them to chew. And once they cannot chew, this kind of a very big body size, 5,000 kilograms, it needs quite a lot of energy. Now that they're feeding on very dry grass and they pick up the roots and get all the nutrients, they must have to go very often to the water holes in order to drink, because the food is dry at the moment. So that trunk is one of the very powerful weapons. They use the trunk in order to get the food, and they use the trunk again in order to smell. Sometimes you will see them just raising the trunk, trying to get the information from the particles. Arena, if you can look there, you can see that there is some little bit of white. I think that is because of the dirty from the eyes, or else maybe you might find that is something. I can't see very, very well what it is there, but they've got to clean the eyes every time. You can see there's even some hairs there covering the eyes, protecting the eyes from the dust. It's just like us. When we sleep in the morning, we do get those kind of white stuff coming from the eyes. They also sleep, elephants, during the daytime sometimes, but not very often. It's very rare to find them sleeping, but sometimes they sleep under these big trees and also on top, lifting their head against the termite mound. I've seen that. You can see the little one now is going very fast looking for the other one. There's 2 or 3 small ones here. So I'm just going to now try to reallocate the better spot for the sighting and see if we can see them nicely. These elephants are also not very far away from the border. They might disappear now. Child of the universe, the elephants, they are not selective They are just bulk grazers. When they are just bulk feeders. They feed on both grass as well as the trees. And when it comes to trees, they are not selective. They do eat quite a lot of different fruit trees. Fruit trees that are eaten by the bears, elephants, they also eat them. It's just that the marula fruit is famous and mostly associated with the elephants. But they also do eat other fruits as well. Sometimes they even get attracted by some of the fruits we carry from the cars. Fruits such as watermelons and other fruits such as oranges attract them a lot. So now let's go to James, who is searching for the leopard. Maybe he will be lucky with the leopards.
Well, maybe he will, or maybe he'll just show you a duiker or two. Stop running. Stop running. Stop. No, gone. Ah, what a fantastic sighting. Wasn't that amazing? Just gorgeous stuff. No luck, everybody. You may be able to tell that from the slightly downhearted way in which I'm speaking. Senzo, let's do that dove. Hello, little dove. Humble as you are. It's nice to see you. Senzo, can you see the dove?
Where?
It's the one crawling on the ground there. There we are, middle of fracture. There we go, well done. Cape turtle dove. Oh, and the sound of the bearded woodpecker. I was rather hoping that around this waterhole would be Hothana or Tingana. But a lace and a lack, no, nothing. Just the humble dove, eating its seeds, possibly the odd ant. As the sun is eventually starting to sink on the 2nd of spring 2018. Oh, and Senzo has spotted a bird that looks like, and I think that's just the wind. I thought maybe it had been mangled by something, but no, it hasn't. It's just the wind mangling it slightly. I used to look like that when I had hair. This is a pumped pan, in case you're wondering, and it is a central point during the dry season. This is a Natal spurfowl we're looking at. Its pink legs, pinkish beak, and it too is quite careful about how it drinks, looking out for predators. Have you spotted another one? Gosh, Senzo, you're on fire this afternoon. Another Natal spurfowl, 2 Natal spurfowls and 1 dove. Phew-wee. And I'm just sitting here wondering if perhaps the leopard isn't going to pitch up, because I'm pretty sure that at some stage one might. It's been a hot day. Superb 2-shot of 2 birds, well done. Senzo, you're on fire, as I said. Now, if your fire could extend to a spotted cat, that would be fantastic. Right. As I said at the very first time I saw you, and we showed you the clip of Hosanna learning from his father how to steal, so he did follow up. No, let me start that again. So he did apply those lessons this week.
We returned to Tandi and Tlalamba at the pilfered carcass later that day. As we arrived, we found Tandi dragging the kill to a nearby marula. With sheer power and grace, the 12-year-old female showed all her experience as she hoisted the kill. She then positioned it safely out of the reaches of marauding scavengers that were sure to come as darkness fell. Satisfied with her work, she descended and returned to Tlalamba for a late afternoon grooming session. The story of the pilfered carcass, however, was not over. Tandi had spotted something. Her softer side gave way as her stare intensified and her tail twitched. Up in the tree where she had left the carcass lay the proud new thief, Hosanna. He had repositioned the kill, and in doing so dropped a chunk of meat. Tundi quickly swooped in and scooped it up. The two then settled in as they each fed off the spoils of their thievery.
Now, when we watched that clip in the final control before we came out on drive, there was a ripple of laughter that fluttered through the room at the sight of Hosana's smug-looking face as he sat in the tree there. And I don't know why it is, but he really does have a bit of kind of showman clownship about him, if you like. It was just very funny to watch him sitting there, not quite gormlessly, but one cannot feel any resentment for him stealing the kill from his sister. It just seems to be what he does, and then he looked there clownishly into the blue. It was very amusing to watch. Here are some more impalas. Let's have a look at them, see if they are getting amorous with each other. No, they're just going to run away. Now, Hosana, of course, is stealing, so is Tundi, and so is Tingana, and that is entirely normal. That is what all of the predators out here will do if they can. The notable exception, of course, is the wild dog, which will almost universally not scavenge. If they can avoid it, they will kill their own fresh meat, unless something is very fresh and dead in front of them, then they might try and eat that. Cheetahs, likewise, unlikely to scavenge, just simply because they are not built for it. They try and avoid other predators, and so if there happens to be a predator on a piece of meat, you can be sure that a cheetah will just avoid it rather than trying to steal that piece of meat. But the rest of them scavenge away at will. Well, Giraffe Girl, that would seem to be a correct, what should we say, correct, lost me words, a correct statement, if you like, that a family that thieves together stays together. Yes, well, so they do. That fence is Vuyatela Camp, by the way, just in case you're wondering, and Hosana and Tundi and Tingana and Tlalamba have spent a bit of time around there of late, and so that's why we're just sort of driving the perimeter towards the pan again. Right, very happily, Sydney has managed to find some large game, the same one that we found earlier today, this time in better light.
Very much interesting to see that the little one doesn't know how to use the trunk. Is trying to grab some of the small plants, and the strengths are not there, and instead is going down just break it from the inner parts of the mouth. Is battling to break these small plants from the trees. So these little ones, they are born while these mothers are standing. So the little one has to hit the ground as a wake-up call in order to kickstart their life. That must be painful. Them and the giraffe, they are very popular when it comes to that. So little ones, they got to eat droppings of their mothers when they are still very new. The twins has been recorded in some of the areas. I have seen that, but I haven't experienced it. I've never seen it by myself happening, but I have seen that a lot of sources are indicating that, yes, rarely they do have twins. So these babies, when they're still young, they have got to eat droppings of their mothers in order to get the digestive bacteria. They are born free of all bacteria. To get the bacteria, they must do a coprophagic behavior. They must come and eat droppings of the old ones in order to get some digestive bacteria. Otherwise, they are going to battle in the stomachs. Look at that. Trying again to use the trunk. Gosh, the elephants and rhinos, they do fight. And I used to work in one of the private reserves in Waterberg before I went to the South African national parks. And there, the elephants, they managed to kill a rhino. what was the problem is that elephants were introduced without the big males to channel the teenagers in order to behave. So elephants, instead of treating the rhino, they killed the rhinos. They were trying to mate with the rhinos by fire, by force, and that is how they killed the rhinos. Until the big male was introduced, which then helped in order to calm these youngsters. So these elephants here in Djuma are not that very destructive. Elephants can be very destructive, especially now during the dry season when food availability is very much scarce. But here it's very difficult to notice that there are elephants, lots of elephants in the property. Sometimes elephants, when having the little ones, they just uproot trees. They push trees down just to give their little ones an accessibility to the food. And they won't eat and finish that tree. They will eat and leave it and move on to the next tree. That is why in the bush here, some of the trees you can see that they are just to regenerate the branches from the effects done by these elephants as they are trying to regrow again while the branches are lying on the ground. They are not standing straight. You can see the old ones knows very well how to use the trunk. You can see that now he's using the trunk in order to pull that. And if it's difficult, he's going to have to break it and get the inner bark. The little one also managed to pick up something from the trunk. I'm sure the little one is only now that is starting to learn how to use this trunk. Constance King, looking at the size of that baby, I am sure is the baby which is now approximately 2 to 3 years. It's not that very old. I can see that this baby is still very small. These babies, when they are born weighing 120 kilograms. That is a lot. So animals such as the elephants and the giraffes and these zebras, when they are born, you must check if it's the giraffes and the zebras, already they've got hoofs. And elephants as well, their foot structure is strong already for the little one to run. In less than an hour, the little one is going to be able to run because these animals are very much vulnerable. So, but the elephants, it's not easy for the predators to attack their babies because they can be very much protective. Sometimes when threatened, the big ones will surround all the little ones and have them in the middle. Accessibility will never be easy. So if you can check in the droppings of the elephants, you will see that the vegetation material is not finally digested. What they are eating now, some of these things are still going to come out as they are. Devald, the elephants, they do drink a lot of water every day. These animals mostly, they go to the water holes twice a day, sometimes even more than that, depending on the seasons and the type of food they are feeding on. They can drink 150 to 200 liters of water a day. So that is a lot. But the little ones, they've got to drink the milk from their mothers, but also when they go to the water holes, when they're still young, not able to use the trunks, you will see the big ones collecting the water from the trunk and try to give them. So now let's go back to James, who is on a search for the leopard Maybe he's got some fresh tracks there. Not too sure how successful he is.
Very unsuccessful. We're going down now towards some water, towards Twin Dams, and we'll work our way back up from there. There's no reason to do that other than it's been hot and there's water there. There were 2 other leopards found down to the south yesterday evening, so maybe we'll be lucky. It's a glorious afternoon. Oh dear, here we have a small traffic jam happening. Watch this, everybody. I'm now going to do something very amusing. Good afternoon. Yes. Now, while that is relatively amusing, the point of it is that I then don't have to say hello, you see. We can just keep going on our search, rather than having an awkward conversation where we say, hello, hello, how are you? Yes, fine, thank you, we're live. We cannot talk now, can we carry on, please? Oh, sorry about that. You know, too much. Oh dear. I can't believe it. Herbert has just found a leopard where we were. Sorry, Herbie, I missed that. I've just been past Gallagher Pan. What have you got there? I can't believe it. Copy, I'd like to make my way if I can. Herbert has managed to find Hosanna where we were looking. This does not surprise me greatly because Herbert is a genius. Apparently he can't see him very well, so we will slowly wind our way up there and we'll see if we get lucky. I think he went for a little walk around the pan, around about where we were looking at those, around those birds. Anyway, we'll see what we can do. Remarkable man, that. Absolutely remarkable. Otherwise, things have not been massively successful. I see that Andrew did not come from Trindam, so that's where we will continue to go. Gemma, yes, Murphy's Law and Herbie's skill is basically what happened there. I'm not sure that it was too much of Murphy, probably much more of Herbie, and not enough skill brought to bear by myself. Anyway. Miss Anna, you say I need glasses. Yes, quite possibly. I actually don't have short sight, but maybe some glasses would help. It would be quite useful if I could have some leopard spotting glasses. It was slightly embarrassing when that happens. Of course, I didn't have to confess it to you, which I probably shouldn't have. Right, we're at the waterhole now. What is there? Any of our characters for SafariLive? No, just a diker, which is now almost certainly going to run away. Yes, there it goes. Running away. Oh, no, caught in no man's land. Now what do you do? What are you going to do? Eat a jackalberry fruit. Thank you, Senzo, for your levelling skills. Anyway, the sun has now set. That sort of dusk breeze has begun to blow. And as the diker makes its way out of frame, I think we're going to make our way back towards where Herberto has found Hosanna. There's a very fine-looking diker ram. Yes, you thought you heard me say that, didn't you? We don't often see them this confidingly. I think he thinks we can't see him. There are a lot of these things around, and you don't realize how many until you drive around here in the dead of night, flashing your spotlight from side to side, because then you realize that there are hundreds and hundreds of diker around this area. Yes, they do, Lorimer. I know exactly what you mean about them having funny faces. They've got sort of a round Romanish type nose, I guess, and, well, they don't smile very much, which just makes them look a little odd. Right, there's nothing drinking here. Let us head straight for the pan where Hosanna was. In the meantime, Sydney is also still driving and searching. Let's go across to him.
I am now heading towards the Twinsdale area just to see if maybe we can find a leopard or something in that area. So, but now here where I am, I've got a very beautiful spot. I am right on a very beautiful spot for the sunset in Africa. Look at that. This is lovely. Every time I come here by this time of the day, I always enjoy this kind of sightings, the sunset. Sunset is something people don't take into consideration. But here in Africa, I can promise you, sunset will never get old. Every time it's looking new. So when the sun is going down like this, the other insects, such as the termites, after the first rains, they can be able to pick up the temperature fluctuations. When the temperature is now cooling, is when they know that this is the best time to release the reproductives to go out for breeding purposes. But also, the animals, if you can check animals as well, now is when they are going to wake up. But those kind of insects, such as the termites in there, their activities are not determined by day and darkness. Light and darkness doesn't work there. It's always dark. They feel what is happening outside in order to release them. They don't depend on the light from the sun. Big animals, for them to do their activities now that the sun is going down, some is when they can see that now it's getting dark and they start to come out and perform their nocturnal life. Look at that. The sun going behind the Drakensberg Mountains. That is what I'm seeing from the naked eyes without any sunscreen. Lovely. Tears from a dream. You are exactly the same like me. Sunset to me is always very, very interesting. So now I am going to go down towards the Twinsdale area and see if I can find something interesting. Maybe I'll see a leopard. I'm missing Tani and Talamba. Not too sure if James is winning on that side. So now let's go to James. He's winning. He won. He's going towards a leopard.
We're on our way at high speed up towards the Gallagher Pan. With any luck, we will still have a view of Hosanna, who I think is having a drink at the moment. Like I say, the sun has set. It's a lovely evening. Always this time of year, after the hot days. Now, Hosanna... in one of the most gory moments of the week, managed to catch himself a little baby duiker, but it was his method of eating that really made us all a little green.
Small squirrels were not the only thing that Hosanna helped off this mortal coil this week. Here, a young duiker lamb was the fat little chief's victim. He was already full, so he allowed his meal to grow cold in the dinner tree while he slept through the heat of the day below. Some acrobatics to whet the appetite, and the task of shoving yet more flesh down his gullet resumed afresh. While this young male leopard's tastes could hardly be described as fussy, there are limits to what he is prepared to consume. In this case, like many cats, he does a superb, if somewhat nauseating job of separating the bolus from the nutritious intestinal wall. Yum.
Now that clip didn't quite show the full extent of what he was doing there. It took him, I would say, a good 3 minutes or so to suck or push, if you like, all of the bolus through the stomach lining, and then it kind of made a disgusting squelching noise and fell onto the floor, which we didn't think would be appropriate to show you. We all felt very ill afterwards, but you can see that he does certainly have some interesting tastes, but that no cat is prepared to eat the muck that comes out of their prey's stomach. Fair enough. I wouldn't either, but they certainly are fans of haggis, which is basically what they ate there. I'm just going to quickly talk to Herbert. Herbie, I'm on quarantine. No, nothing. Let's just keep going along here. We're not far now. Now, since then, Hosanna seems to have come down into this area. Well, obviously he has. He's just near the Galago Pan, and he hasn't moved from here. I saw him twice on foot in the drainage line just to the sort of, well, I guess you could say north of our camp, next to the Galago Pan, and for about 3 nights now he's just kind of spent his time around there, not showing any signs of territoriality at all, staying low, not killing. Teresa, I'm afraid I didn't hear that question. All I got was, why don't we get Christmas fangs here? I don't think that's what you asked. Why don't they eat? Oh, they do eat the intestines. That's what he was eating. He was eating the intestines, but he was pushing out the half-digested bolus. So the bolus is the kind of masticated grass and crushed up grass that eventually passes into the intestines. And what he was doing there is sucking the intestine. The intestine was going down his throat, and then the bolus was coming out. They didn't want to eat that. They absolutely eat intestine. Not always, but they do. They like it. I mean, like is probably a strong word. I'm just going to get hold of Herbert again. Herbie, what's my best approach from our camp? He's still at the pan. Copy, thank you. You're not too far from there as the crow flies, but it always strikes me that this next road takes an inordinate amount of time to get along as it winds. I do feel that we should show you at least one character from our Safari Live show during the course of the next few minutes. We haven't managed to find one from Juma. Tom, I'm sure he's physically capable of sawing. He certainly hasn't sawed yet, as far as we know, but he would only saw if he was trying to be territorial, which he isn't yet. He's not really old enough for that. Interestingly, Michael Fleetwood, who you might know, is a very avid viewer and follower of our animals all over the place, and he found some record of what he is fairly sure is Hukumuri as a cub. Looked to me around about 10 or 11 months old in, when was it? It was 2013, which would put Hukumuri, this young male leopard, not at 6 years old, but at maybe just 5. Now, how that relates to this story, of course, is that Hosanna is now approaching, well, he's not nearly 3 yet, but he's 2.5. And, you know, I still think he's got at least 18 months before he would start behaving in a territorial fashion. I must say, I think it'd be quite nice if he stayed around here. Tingana had another 18 months of glory and then kind of retired in situ. And that would be very nice if Hosanna just took over from him. There is the magical prince himself, sitting on top of the termite mound. Marvellous, marvellous stuff. Courtesy of the great H. Causa. All of you know the great H. Corso, of course, because he is the man who walks with us when he's guiding this afternoon. You just pull a little turn around this way. A couple of sticks in the way. Income. Sorry everybody, I'm making a hash of this. I'm really making an utter hash. If you laugh at me again, Senzo, I'm going to be forced to remove you from the car by means of a buffalo thorn. There you are. There he is. I always get the impression that young Hosanna is pretending to be regal. You know, he feels every so often, after behaving like a clown, that he should pretend to be regal. That's what he's doing now. Proud cat, Mama, we are due to a certain extent. I think that all these cats get a little bored from time to time, especially as youngsters. And because they're so young, and because he doesn't have siblings anymore, well, he wouldn't really be with a sibling at this age anyway. But yes, I do think that he does, to a certain extent, get bored. Now, the reason that you're not seeing Jamie at the moment is not because she finds any of you offensive. It is because she has been savaged by lightning. Well, she hasn't actually. She's avoiding being savaged by lightning. Isn't that a lovely picture of the young prince? I had to take my camera out and take a picture of the guests on the other vehicle because they were taking a picture of us. Bob, well, you're a new viewer and you say, what is sawing when it pertains to animals? You've only heard it used pertaining to construction or carpentry. Well, that's very logical. The answer is that it's a sound that leopards make that sounds like a saw cutting through wood. It goes a little bit like this. That's basically what it sounds like. And he is not sawing yet because he's not a territorial male. He's just lurking in his dad's territory at the moment, and we are so grateful for his lurking in his dad's territory. We see him almost on a daily basis and thoroughly enjoy his antics. Yes, our Laramore, his paw pads are very special. I don't know why they're special. I couldn't tell you what it is about them that makes me feel or agree with you that they are special, but they most certainly are very special paw pads indeed. As is his tail. Wow, his whole makeup really. Fantastic cat. So he's been sleeping very close to here while I was bemoaning the Cape turtle dove and the two Natal spur fowls that Sens ordered his best to create an entertaining segment from. Well, he was not far from here. And then he decided that he needed to come and have a drink, so that's what he did. And now he's lying on his termite mound, attempting to be regal. So tempting, simply because he does have such a clownish nature. There we go, heads up, he's listening to the call of the Scops owl. Proop, proop. He's clearly a leopard who likes a bit of birding, a bit of ornithology. Righty, well, here we sit with Hosanna. Sydney is going to now have to search for other cats. Let's see what he comes up with.
I am now heading towards the treehouse dam just to go and see if maybe I'll be lucky with Tandy and Talamba, as the last track of these two cats, they got disappeared somewhere in that area. And these cats, they are depending on these water holes. If now Hosanna is by the pen, maybe Tandy and Talamba are depending here by the treehouse dam, unless they're also going to the same place, because this week there has been quite a lot of interaction of these cats all together by the dam camp. So I'm not sure if maybe these two will also go there in order to join Hosanna. No alarm call, nothing is very much quiet at the moment. So I just want to quickly rush there and see if maybe there is something. I've been there twice already. I've been there in the morning, and then I've been there again just before I started, but I didn't see anything. So Tandy and Talamba, they are playing some hide and seek. But sometimes, let's go back to Hosanna. Maybe I'll find something when I get there.
Maybe he'll find something. Well, yes, maybe he'll find that Scops owl he is talking about. But maybe he won't. I think he's not particularly hungry. He hasn't had a Sunday roast yet, but I don't think that he's after anything right now. Angelina, yes, absolutely. Termites would bite him on his bottom if he lay upon an open chimney where there were soldiers guarding the entrance. They would most certainly bite him on his bottom, and he'd go, ooh, like that. You'd see him go, ooh, and then he'd probably move from where he is now. But there are no termites currently building chimneys on this mound. This mound may in fact be dormant. There may not be any termites in it at all. But he'd be careful of climbing any mound that had open chimneys, because he will know that they bite. Now, DG Photography, as he looks over the top of our heads, I wonder to perhaps if his father is not approaching from the other side. This is going to be very interesting. DG Photography, he will most likely retain that pink nose, yes. He's staring completely fixedly over there. Look at him. It wasn't that kind of careless looking that he was doing towards the Scops owl. Now he's concentrating completely. What is going on here? This is very interesting. He's completely exposed. Maybe it's that duiker we saw earlier. Yes, here we go. This is going to be interesting. It's a duiker. It's a duiker approaching. No, Kirsten, he can't see a duiker on the dam cam, but he can see a duiker here coming towards the water to drink. He's using the car. He's using the car as cover. He's using the car in front of us as cover. The duiker is thinking about coming for a drink. This is astounding. Now, we're not going to do an unscheduled broadcast here simply because he is using the vehicle as cover, which I think is unfortunately a slightly unfair advantage conferred on the cat. The duiker moving away now, I think probably because we're sitting here, and no duiker will come this close to us. But clearly he's thinking that that would be quite nice to eat. Can't see the duiker anymore. The tail just trying to tell the bird to shut up. He's peering out from behind the Cheetah Plains vehicle's back tyre. very fixed and concentrated. Now he's looking up towards the guest cheetah plains as if to say, don't you dare speak. Don't you dare let that duiker know that I'm here. Now, I'm pretty sure that duiker would have come to have a drink if it hadn't been for us here. There he is. Now he's going round to the back of the car to see if he can't get himself a gin and tonic. No, he's not really doing that. He's going to go round and see. Let's see if we can't get one last look at him. I don't want to move. Oh, there we go. What a magical cat. Look at that. Isn't that a beautiful pose? He is a poser as well as being a clown. Alrighty, we're going to move around the side. He is seeking cover. He is hunting the duiker. Let's just wait and see what he does first from here. Just going to give him a chance to see if he can pick it up again. I can't see the duiker at this stage. But we can still see the cat. You can still see Hosanna. So let's just stay exactly where we are, actually. I think this is fine. Can't see the duiker. He can, I think. You can hear there's a great deal of consternation on the vehicle in front of us. Somebody's got pins and needles in their legs. We've still got a nice picture of him. I don't think we're going to... Should we move a little bit? I'm just going to put ourselves in the middle over there. I can still see him. Let's just put ourselves in the middle here. We've got a long-range lens, so we don't have to get very close. But in order to get any light on him with the infrared, we might have to be a little bit closer. Right, we're going to stop over here. No, I'm afraid, everyone, we don't have the FLIR. Older Sidders has got the FLIR on his car. So we've just got our eyes and infrared. See if this thing works. Probably not at this stage. We have got also an infrared torch which casts a slightly more concentrated beam of infrared light, but it's not going to work at this distance. We're just giving him some space. No idea where the duiker is. I think he does. Yes, Eddie, he does have swagger, I have to agree. He's a show-off, basically. He's a clownish show-off. Now, where's he going? This is now not after the same prey. Let's just see what he does for the next 2 minutes. I don't think we'll extend the drive because I'll tell you why, I'm not going to go crashing in there after him. That's a beautiful shot, though, that we still have there. No, he's still hunting the same duiker. He's trying to get around. Still see him there. Well done, Sensor. I mean, that's perfect, isn't it? He's losing concentration now, though. See, he's looking at other things. And there might be an easier quarry through there. He's definitely lost focus on this current duiker, though. He's got something through there. It's probably a squirrel. Ooh, it's so tempting to move. If he disappears down there, we'll have to move. He's quite a distance from us now. Let's go. So what he's done is he's gone over the edge there. This other duiker, unless it's crossed through here, which I don't think it has. All of you wishing him well in his hunt. He's gone over down here. Just going to ease down the way. I can't see the other duiker, so if he is hunting a duiker, it's not the same one. Unless it managed to cross the road. Yeah, I'm not going to follow him in there, everybody. He's obviously on the hunt. Can you see him in there? Oh, my goodness. Well, while we wait and see if Hosanna pops out, Sydney has a final surprise.
Look at that, I'm very lucky with Tingana. You can see Tingana is right here now trying to relax next to my vehicle. Look at this, this is very beautiful. He was doing some hunting activities and I could see that he was watching a hyena disappearing just my right hand side. Look at Tingana looking at my comm operator. You can see that the ears are very much wary. He is up to something. So Tingana has been hiding in the area where I've been during the day looking for Thandi and Kalamba. This is a lovely animal. This is my favorite cat here in Djuma. Look at that. He's just going right to the back of the vehicle, following the hyena. Look at that. Slowly moving towards that side. A good afternoon, all stations. This is Sydney. I've got Tingana, Philmon's Deep. So right there where Tingana is going is where I've seen the hyena disappearing. What made me to see Tingana, I was informed by the hyena because I saw the hyena going that side, looking at the back. You can see that he is slowly moving towards there. He is interested on something at the moment. He is hiding right behind a pole. He's hunting. Thank you very much for all your questions and comments. And let's meet tomorrow at 6:30.